I should have gone on that Twitter years ago. One time, just don't need it. I think my own sort of understandings, and I think I'm quite smart, my own understandings would have been better if I'd have been engaging in Twitter for the last 10 years as opposed to the last one. So I look at I see what's trending, same as everyone else does. I actually now prefer Twitter to, I used to be like a guy on Facebook. Facebook's alright for communications, but so's Twitter. So I'm moving away from Facebook. It's crap. It's not as active. You have your friends and your followers, and it's like it's kind of forgotten. It's perfectly decent for communicating with old pals and staying in contact with local networks, but by way of networking and sort of branching out and reading people's foolish opinions, Twitter is excellent. I don't get so wound up, you see. I don't get so irate. But I do see a lot of really, really bad takes on Twitter. And the bad take of the day is the one that's... there's Joey Barton's trending. And he is getting a load of stick for saying that he's bullying a 17-year-old girl. It's like, no, she played in a women's Scottish Cup final and she got caught in a ridiculous position and left an open goal for an opponent to shoot into, which killed the game after about 7 minutes. It was a howler. It was the kind of goal you don't see. It was a strange goal. And the commentators are like, oh, clinical finish, brilliant goal. And it's like, no, that's a howler of a goalkeeping mistake. And Joey Barton said so. And I'm like, yeah, it was. Terrible. That's bad. Even if you're a kid, you shouldn't be making that mistake. Because, and it's like, I've talked about women's football myself before and said, there's some very good women players. Some women players are ballers. They're really good. But because there's no levels of the game, really, you go practically straight from playing for school to Premier League in women's football. You do. There's no levels of the game. So on an international game, women's football, you would see, if there were men, it'd be like guys who play for Rochdale, who are good players, but they're not international class. It's like they get in the England team and they'd be stood alongside Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, and it'd be like there's a massive differential between players in the same team on the same field in women's football, and it's because it's got no strength in depth. It's because it's got no grassroots. It's because the path to the top is like 3 levels from amateur. So it's like you make a goalkeeping mistake like she made, where she's just caught out of position and can't get back into goal. I'm like, terrible. And then Joey Barton mentions it, and suddenly he's bullying a 17-year-old girl, and it's like, hang on a minute. I'm nearly 50, and when we came up, sexism was a thing. It was like, sexism, cut it out, don't be like that. Racism was a thing, don't be like that. So what we did was we became like, they taught us as the right way of doing it and the right way of thinking to be colourblind. Don't judge people by the colour of the skin, which now apparently is a racist sentiment. Oh, so you're ignoring, here we go. You're ignoring the history of slavery. It's like, no, me and this guy went to school together. He's from a richer house than me. So he's an equal. There's no distinction. He might be a black kid. I'm not bothered, he's a mate. If you pick on him, I'll pick on you. And if you pick on me, he'll pick on you. We're mates. It's like, that's gone. That's now seen as being the most racist thing you can be, isn't it, colourblind? Because you're a threat, because you can make a fool of everyone. Well, another one's sexism, where it's like, sexism, I had a lot of women teachers, as I think most people do, and they they drilled into us. It's like, no, you hold women to the same standard as men, and that's equality. Fine. So women, if they criticised, it's criticism for a bad performance. You would hold a woman to the same standard as a man and say that's shit, and that's equality. That's feminism, or it is what feminism used to be. That you wouldn't hold a woman back. You wouldn't say, "Oh, back to the kitchen, love. Do what you're good at." No, that's wrong. If she's a professional footballer, she should be held to a professional standard. So it's like these guys are coming out saying that Joey Barton's a scumbag, that Joey Barton's a sexist loser, and he's bullying a 17-year-old girl. It's like, no, he's actually being a feminist there. He's holding a woman accountable and holding her to a high standard. But they're saying, no, that's sexism. It's like, oh my God, you people are stupid. So it's not allowed to criticise women footballers when they make horrendous mistakes. Like embarrassing mistakes. Because it's the same game. They keep telling us it's the same game as the men's game. So, okay, we'll judge you by the same standard. That's equality. Yeah, I accept it. Fine, that's the way I operate. If you commit a terrible error on a football field, I'll say you've dropped a bollock there, haven't you? And they have, objectively. You made a mistake. There's nothing more sexist than not holding a woman accountable for her mistakes. Nothing more sexist than that, because you're treating her like she's an animal, like a pet, that you've got no expectations. Low or no expectations is sexism. So you've got all these idiots who are on that Twitter today who are having a go at Joey Barton and saying he's a bastard. He's bullying a 17-year-old girl who made a mistake. And it's like, yeah, and in football you're made accountable for your mistakes. Mistakes is what gets you dropped from the team. What's the biggest mistake in football you can make? Giving a stupid goal away for nothing. That's number one. Second is, in general, giving the ball away. And there are many ways you can give a ball away. In the statistics that they measure, right? The statistics, whether people say, well, the stats say, it's like, is there recorded stats for how often a player gives a ball away? It's like you smash it into stands and it counts as a positive because they count it as a clearance in those stats. You made the most clearances. They could just be seen to be bad passes or bad decisions. They could be seen as giving the ball away, shooting all the time and not scoring goals. Shooting from distance, that's another way of giving the ball away. That's bad football, it's bad play. But if you score, everyone forgives you. Sometimes it's on and sometimes it's not. But every time you shoot from distance, you're in essence giving the ball away. So if you shooting all the time gets real old with your teammates if you don't score. And no one scores every time they have a dip. No one. So it's like, is there standards or not? Is there is feminism and sexism a thing or not? Straightforward to me. If you're a women's professional footballer and you commit a howling mistake, people should be allowed to say, "Ooh, that's a bad mistake you made there, love." To hold them to a standard, but apparently you're not allowed to. So once again, Joey Barton is right and the mob is wrong. The mob don't have respect for the game and certainly don't have respect for women. As I say, plenty of great women players. But say you only have to really move up 3 divisions to be a professional, 4 divisions to be an international. There's no strength in depth. And women's players are not like men's players. Guys who make it to the top in football generally start playing football when they are 4 and 5 years old and play for the school team when they're like 7. And they go through. There's loads who play at that level who don't make it, but the ones that do always do. So they've been working on their game all their lives. And that's been something that they've made sacrifices to do. Women's football can be 3 years playing the game and playing for a professional club. It can be 3 years into playing. And it's like, how many games a season might they play? Well, they'll be playing organised football. They won't be doing what we were doing and using coats for goalposts and learning how to shoot and volley in the street. Learning how to head the ball in the street. No, so they're not as good. They're not as technically gifted. Why aren't they technically gifted? Because they don't practice enough. There's no such thing as a natural anything in football, apart from athlete. Skill-wise, no one's naturally gifted at football. They all practiced it. They all practice it like hell. And to say that some players are naturally talented, that's disrespectful. You're letting on that they didn't work and train as hard as anyone else, as everyone else. Even work harder. Like, you do see positive aspects to women footballers. There's loads of them. Some of them are really good. Some of them are excellent. There's players I've seen play for women's players who certainly play for England. Who's like, yeah, she's a good player. But it would be, well, I know guys who play for pub teams who are good players. Who are like, yeah, you are a good player. Yeah, great player. But not professionals, not internationals. But from here, if you can't or don't have the guts to criticise a bad female footballer, you're sexist. You treat them like children. But saying that, at football, children get dropped from the team if they give silly goals away. I remember once I had a run of form that was terrible playing, and I was just unlucky. It wasn't that I was playing bad. I'd had some bad luck. And if you're a centre half and if you have some bad luck, it looks bad. You give goals away. But I scored own goals in consecutive games. And I said to my manager, I deserve to be dropped. Basically, I was down on myself. I lost my confidence. I'm like, I deserve to be dropped. And manager says, well, you've been unlucky. And I'm like, no, I deserve to be dropped. And week after, I was dropped. And I'm like, why aren't I playing? He said, but last week you said you deserved to be dropped. It's like I had to change position to get my place back in the team. I went from crunching centre half to, in essence, flying wing back, right back, because I lost my place in the middle. Why did I lose my place in the middle? I told my manager to drop me to punish me because I felt ashamed of myself that I'd scored own goals in consecutive games. I held myself to a high standard and expected others to hold me to the same standard. It's like, I'm a football guy, a football kid. I'm a football guy now. Remember when Eric Cantona retired, and he gave an interview shortly before he retired and says, I'm playing like a dog. I mean, out of form, I'm playing badly. I'm playing like a dog, Eric said. Holding himself to a high standard. And it's like, you didn't hear so many, even though he wasn't in the best of form, he didn't have his last season at United. United won the league, but he wasn't in the best form. Wasn't his best season, it was probably his worst season. I'm playing like a dog. But the United fans were like, oh no, we forgive him for playing like a dog. So he knew his standards had fallen, but the fans were like, oh, we forgive him for his falling standards. That happens surprisingly a lot in football. I've looked at players in the past and said, this guy's not really a good player. And they still be at the top of the game. Like, this guy ain't so good. It's like he made a name for himself when he was in his 20s, early 20s, and now he's 28. He's a spent force, but he's still a big name, and people remember what he did years ago, but it's like, has he got it in his legs to do it now? No. Football is cruel as hell, and the only way a footballer ever gets a game is because someone falls out of form, someone falls out of confidence, or someone gets injured, Somebody comes in and then they get their chance to cement their place in the team. And footballers are always looking over the shoulder. And that's true of every level of the game. So it's like young goalkeeper who made that mistake yesterday could expect to be dropped when someone in form is available. Dropped. And it's going to be, are we going to lament that she was dropped? Or are we just going to accept that she was replaced by someone in better form or a better player? So it's like, nobody ever got a place in a football team without somebody else losing out. And if there's no accountability, if people are not allowed to point to people's mistakes because it's just off and wrong, when's it going to be that managers of these women teams get accused of sexism for dropping someone and replacing them with another woman? How far away is that? Oh, she's a young player, she made a mistake. You can't drop her for that. So, well, that's the nature of football. It's bloody competitive. You give goals away at any level of the game, you'll lose your place in the team. I was for years a central defender. And if I made mistakes, the team would lose. So I had to keep mistakes out of my game. If I made a couple of mistakes in a couple of games, I'll be at the team. And then some at centre half, it's funny, people lose trust in you. People lose trust in you as a defender. You don't ever get back in the side. You then, the thing is with me, I'm a utility player. I've been deployed as a winger in football, and I'm not actually that bad playing wide right. I've been deployed as a striker, and I was surprisingly effective as one. And I used to quite enjoy playing at centre midfield. In fact, I was centre back, and when I lose my place at centre back, I played for a team once where I used to wear the number 10 shirt and be behind the strikers as a playmaker because I enjoyed it, because I could actually do it. I had an idea of what I was doing anywhere on the field, but I was a specialist centre back, but I could play off the front. Really enjoy playing off the front. It's great. Playing as number 10 playmaker. Well, I'm a centre back, but I can't get a place. I can't get a game at centre back, but I can get a game as an attacking midfielder. That's football. You get in wherever you can get in. If a manager comes, I did once I played for a team that was short of players, because that's how you get in a game. That's how you get a team. That's how you get in a team. I went playing for a pub side because it was a matter of, we've only got 11 players. I'm like, well, I enjoy a game and I don't play on Sundays, so I'll come and play Sundays with you. And they had a settled defence, and they were all crap, but they were settled. And it's like, John, you fancy playing as a defensive midfielder for us? I'm like, do I ever? Love it. Yeah, absolutely. And I played 2 games as a defensive midfielder. And then someone else doesn't turn up, and he says, like, John, can you play at left back this week? It's like, I've only ever played left back once in my life and I fucking hated it, but I was only 13. I'll give it a go. I'll play at left back. Go on, I'll have a game at left back. So I just played like a centre half at left back, all right foot at left back. So it's like, I can cut inside. And as well as that, it's like last week I was a midfielder for you. And I remember playing at left back, nicked the ball off someone, set off on a run, ran about 10 yards with it, cutting inside because I'm all right foot, laid the ball into centre forward's feet and just release it, put me through on goal. I love running through on goal. I dream about being put through on goal. I really love one-on-one situations with goalkeepers. You don't get so many if you're a defender, so it's like everyone can do it, can't they? Everyone who plays football can take a penalty, and everybody who plays football fancies themselves if they're put through. Everybody. So, lays it up to the striker. I'm like, yeah, push through. And he dicked around with ball and it took off him. And I says, why don't you just put us through? He says, well, you're a left back. It's like, I was playing behind you last week in centre mid. Football's a strange game. And if you don't hold people, if you can't criticise players, because I'll tell you something, You get yourself out on a football pitch, amateur, professional. If you play like a dick, the first people who notice it are your teammates who are like, what the fuck? Your manager, what the fuck? The fans, anyone who's watching, any spectator, be like, you had a bit of a shit game today, didn't you, John? He's like, yeah, I got buried. Yeah, fair enough. And you'd have an excuse like, well, I didn't get in till 4 o'clock in the morning. And often it'd be true. And it'd go hand in hand with that poor performance that you didn't take the game seriously enough, so you deserve to get beat. I fancy myself as a free kick specialist playing football. I used to. Decent at it. But everyone's decent at it, aren't they? So they might let you take one. You talk you into taking one. I remember once that I played, another team I went playing for because they were short, because that's how you get in another team, that's how you get in a side. And I had to play centre midfield for them as well. And we got a free kick about 30 yards out in like David Beckham territory, and I'm like, I'll have a do it, I fancy this. So I thought, yeah, go and have a shot. So I hit it, and it hit like the top of the post and went wide. I'm like, oh, decent. And then we got another free kick in exactly the same position, and I'm like, oh, I'm alright for that. And the lad who usually takes them's like, fuck off, smashed it straight into the top corner. He's like, that's how you do it. Was I ever allowed to take a free kick again? No. If women's football isn't allowed to, hasn't got that competitive element, and criticism is not allowed, it's not football. It's a circus act. It's like a performance, like you're watching a movie and it's got actors playing football in it. Like, not even Escape to Victory. They could mostly play, couldn't they, in Escape to Victory? Something like that Mean Machine, that terrible Vinnie Jones movie. It's that. It's just staged. If there's no competition for places and criticism's not allowed, it's not football. You wonder why the standard's so low, why the quality of play is so poor, and it's because no competition for places. You can get away with making a mistake knowing that no one's going to drop you, because no one's ever going to openly criticise you when you're absolutely shit. So I stand four square with that Joey Barton, and I think it's not sexist, it's respecting players as players. And they might not say it out loud, but every footballing person knows it. They're just frightened to say so. I like Joey Barton because he's honest. He can be wrong, but at least he's willing to say it. So it's like, in some regards, Joey Barton is leading the conversation that needs to be had about, are we serious about women's football, or aren't we? He's doing everyone a favour. He's doing women's football a service. But these days people are so stupid that they just don't realise it, and they don't understand the game. Don't understand football at all. I think we've got a generation of players, or a generation of people who just didn't fucking play. And then you get other people who've got it sort of mixed up in their head. Real football with real football they've played, console football, FIFA, Pro Evolution Soccer, Football Manager, and what they watch on television. It's just one great big mess in the fucking head. And the thing that they didn't do is compete to get a place in an actual football team. I played for loads of teams, all pub teams, no famous ones, just all pub teams. But every single one of them took the game seriously, and you were held to a standard. And if you didn't keep a standard, you were gone.